$50,000. I still remember the exact moment the number hit me, printed in black ink on a legal notice that felt heavier than the Montana sky. My family's 1,200-acre ranch, land my great-grandfather broke with his own hands after World War II, sold for pocket change while my grandfather lay dying in a hospital bed 30 miles away. I was in a glass-walled office in Washington reviewing merger documents when the courier delivered the envelope. By the time I landed in Billings, bulldozers were already chewing up the north pasture and a new sign stood at the gate. Private property, Sunset Ridge Owners Association. Trespassers prosecuted. I drove a rental sedan down the same gravel road where Grandpa Bill had taught me to shift gears in his '62 Ford pickup. The air smelled of dust and diesel instead of sage and cattle. Through the haze I could see the old barn gone, the split-rail fence my father rebuilt every spring reduced to splinters, and the hilltop cemetery, for generations of Thompsons, looking small and defenseless against the yellow machines. The sale papers claimed Grandpa signed on October 15th. He had been unconscious since the 10th, breathing through a tube, his stroke so severe the doctors said he never opened his eyes again. Someone forged his name while the monitors beeped and the family held vigil. I stood there with useless keys in my hand and a rage I had never known. Margaret Langley stepped out of a black Escalade, blonde hair perfect, smile practiced. "Mr. Thompson," I assumed the certified letter made everything clear. Clear. $50,000 for $2 million of legacy. Richard Harlan of Harlan Luxury Homes followed, suit shiny, handshake ignored. Your grandfather made a prudent choice for his estate. Prudent. The word tasted like rust. I told them it wasn't over. Margaret's eyes flicked to a woman in a dark coat watching from the cottonwoods, then back to me. Change requires sacrifice, Mr. Thompson. You'll see the benefit to the valley. I drove away shaking, and that night an unsigned email arrived. Your grandfather wasn't the first. More soon. A friend. 3 days of digging in county records turned up the first crack. The notary, Helen Grayson, died in 2017. Dead women don't stamp deeds. Another ranch, the Rivera Place, 800 acres lost the same way 2 years earlier. Their lawyer? My oldest friend, Nathan Brooks. Nathan flew in offering help, all earnest sympathy and legal strategy. I showed him the forged signature, the dead notary, the impossible timeline. He nodded, took notes, and texted me later. Settlement might be the cleanest path. I stared at the message until the screen went dark. An elderly neighbor, Dorothy Evans, invited me for tea and produced a notebook. Margaret visited your grandfather 5 times the month he died. Always the back door. I heard him tell her to leave once. Voice thick from the stroke, but clear enough. She slid a photograph across the table. Margaret's SUV half hidden behind the barn the afternoon Grandpa was admitted unconscious. I built a war room in a roadside motel, county plats and medical files covering every surface. Nathan kept pushing settlement. I kept finding families he had represented, 9 in 3 years, every ranch ending up in Harlan's hands for pennies. Bank deposits from shell companies timed to each closed file. $200,000 and change. The envelope under my door held photographs. Nathan shaking Margaret's hand outside a Billings steakhouse. Nathan accepting an envelope from Harlan. Nathan reviewing a timeline titled Thompson Ranch Acquisition. A note read, "He's been planning this since law school. Trust no one." Elena Rivera met me at dusk in Riverside Park, stone pavilion built by the CCC, still solid after 90 years. She spread evidence across the bench like a poker hand. 15,000 acres stolen, 53 families displaced, audio of Margaret telling Harlan. "That's why we keep Nathan on retainer, same as the Rivera job." Elena's parents had trusted Nathan. They lost everything. Federal agent Laura Martinez needed one plaintiff willing to fight in open court. I became that plaintiff. The preliminary hearing packed the Yellowstone County courtroom. I fired Nathan in the hallway. His shock drew stares from every lawyer in the corridor. Judge Helen Whitaker presided, 23 years on the bench, no patience for theater. I laid out the forgery, the dead notary, the hospital records. Margaret took the stand in soft gray, voice trembling with rehearsed compassion. Bill was overwhelmed by bills. We offered dignity. Nathan followed, painting me as a grieving paranoid who threatened him when he suggested caution. Then Elena played the recording. Margaret's voice, cold and clear. "We pay Nathan to manage the grandson." The room erupted. Security blocked the doors. Judge Whitaker granted the injunction on the spot, voided the sale, and referred the case to the FBI. 5 months later, the sheriff auctioned every asset of the Sunset Ridge Owners Association on the courthouse steps. Margaret arrived in a dented Civic, designer wardrobe replaced by worry lines. "I bought the clubhouse for $200,000, the pool for $200 more, the maintenance shed, the tennis courts, every brick and blade of grass she had used to hurt people. Last lot, her own condominium, purchased partly with association funds. I opened at $300,000. Silence answered. The gavel fell. I handed her the 30-day notice in front of the crowd. "Same courtesy you showed my grandfather." She took the paper with shaking fingers. "I have nowhere to go." 30 days, I repeated. 6 months after that, children planted wildflowers where condos were supposed to rise. The ranch house became headquarters for the Montana Land Defense Fund. Cattle grazed again. Dorothy's granddaughter chased butterflies through native grass. Elena managed sustainable crops and, on quiet evenings, sat with me on the porch where Grandpa once carved his initials into the railing. Margaret drew 8 years in federal prison. Nathan took 7 and turned state's evidence, unraveling networks across 4 states. Harlan's company dissolved under forfeiture. I never took a dime of settlement money. Some things are not for sale, Grandpa used to say. Family ground, honest work, the duty to stand up when others cannot. The Hilltop Cemetery now holds a granite marker listing every displaced family. Beneath the names, in memory of those who lost their land and in honor of those who refused to let the thieves win. The fight is not finished. New cases arrive every week. Elderly widows, veteran farmers, widows with mineral rights. We meet them on the same porch, offer coffee and counsel, and remind them the law still belongs to the living if they are willing to claim it. Tell me in the comments, when injustice comes wearing a smile and carrying legal papers, do you negotiate or do you burn the contract and build something better? Have you ever watched a neighbor lose everything to fine print and wondered where the line is between caution and cowardice? Speak your mind. The land is listening.